Hello, this is Ashee from Crafting with Ashee and welcome to this card making tutorial. This is the fun fold card I'm making today. It's a sort of zigzag gatefold card, and it's like a sloped gatefold card. Isn't it fun? I love it. And then it's held together with this little belly band, and then I love the little sentiment on the front. You're on my mind. It's just so cute. So this features the On The Go Designer Series paper. It's one of my favourite papers. First we're going to start off with a little bit of stamping, and the stamp set is this lovely new one called Encircled with Love, and you get all of these lovely sort of circular images that will punch out beautifully with our punches. I always love elements that can be easily punched out. I am definitely a punch girl. I have lots of dies, but punches are just so easy to use. You don't need any other equipment, and they're just so quick. So there we go. We stamped You're On My Mind, and we stamped that with Strawberry Slush ink, which is one of the colours in the Designer Series paper. And now we're going to punch this out, and I'm going to use here, I think, the 1 3/4 inch punch just to punch this out. Now this punch I think is retired, but you could use one of our other punches. No, it's not retired, sorry, it's on the online exclusives, I should say. So you'll find it on my website. I should say everything, all the supplies I used are listed and linked in the description box below, as well as on my blog post, so do check that out. And now I'm just going to stick my sentiment to its mat, which was a scrap piece of Strawberry Slush. Now I have here a piece of Azure Afternoon cardstock, and this measures 14.85 centimetres by 29.7, and we're going to be doing a little bit of scoring. So we are going to score at 9.9 centimetres from either side initially, so covered in glue as usual. So we're going to do 9.9 from either side, which is there, just like that. And now we need to do half of 9.9, so we're going to just fold on those two score lines quickly. Now you can either just fold this back, or you can score. So half of 9.9 is about 4.9, roughly speaking. You guys, as I said, you can just fold the piece back, so you're just cutting it in half. You're just going to score that again. There we go. But all the measurements will be on the blog post as well, so do check that out. So there we go. Just giving that a good burnish with our bone folder, and everything is really nicely burnished. So now we're just going to measure down to the 5 centimetre mark. So you can see here, I'm going to measure down on that first score line to the 5 centimetre mark from the top. So I'm just going to do this with my good old-fashioned ruler and pencil, and I'm just going to make a very small mark there, 5 centimetres, and I'm going to do the same on the other side as well. There we go. So it's on that first score line from the end, and you're going to measure down 5 centimetres. Now you're going to cut through that score line. I make a boo-boo. I start to make a boo-boo, and then I realise, whoops. Thankfully I realise what I've done before I start to cut. I realise, oops, wrong way. So you want to cut from the top, from where you've measured down, from the point through that score line to the end. So easier to show you, just like that. And you're going to do the same on the other side. So from the point through that 5 centimetre mark to the end of the cardstock. And there you've got your sloped piece. Right, let's move that aside, and we're going to bring in our Designer Series paper. As I said, this is the On The Go Designer Series paper, and you're basically going to fit this along. So each piece of this measures, I've got long strips of this, but each piece measures about 4.4 centimetres wide, as you can see here. Now I make this may be a bit more difficult when I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to put my pieces together, because I'm wanting to make sure I use every little piece of Designer Series paper and I don't waste anything. So here you can see I'm just measuring, using my offcut here to measure and make a template. And there we go. So that's where I'm going to cut. I'm just going to cut with my scissors, easy peasy. And then that piece will fit in there, as you can see here. So then I know that I can use that piece to measure for my next pieces. So here you can see me taking another piece of paper and just making sure I'm going to have things in the right orientation. So I know I want it to be there, measure it, and then going to cut that as well. So I'm going to continue on and do this, and you'll see me doing this. It looks like I'm making quite a making it sound difficult, but I'm not. It's just I'm trying to save every little piece of paper, because as crafters we do like to do that. We like to use every little piece of paper. We won't want to waste anything. So now I'm going to know that I've got 2 templates here, and I'm going to take another piece of paper and I'm just going to fit that over, and I'm going to cut, and I know that I've got 2 pieces like that. I need 2 pieces like this. So I'm measuring it along here, and I've already got the slope in the right place, and those are my first 4 panels done. Okay, so now I need to do these small little panels, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing as before. I'm going to use my bit that we cut off to get that nice slope on the first one, and then I can do the rest. And obviously seems like I've cut this a little bit too wide, so I'm just cutting that down. Always a good thing if it's a bit too big rather than a bit too small. Can always do about something when something is a bit too big. Much more difficult to solve it when it's a bit too small. So there again, I'm creating my template. Get my scissors out. And now I'm going to start to stick down. I've decided I'm going to stick down some of these larger pieces so I know exactly what colours are meant to go where, and what patterns are going to go in which place. So otherwise I could see myself getting very much confused and having things look a bit higgledy-piggledy. So I'm going to stick that one down there, and I do love this On The Go designer series paper. It's full of wonderful little icons. Quite a bit of the paper you can actually fussy cut out to make an absolute boatload of embellishments. So it's really, really useful. So you can see here off camera I quickly stuck those pieces in, and now you can see here I'm starting to put together my pieces for the small little panels. So you can see here I'm just putting that one's going to go like this. So then I'm keep on using my piece of paper until I can't get anything more out of it. So now I decided at this point to start to stick some down, otherwise I'm getting totally confused about what's going to go where, which is not unusual. And I feared that I would have too many of one panel and not enough for the other, so by sticking it down it's much easier as I go along to see what I've got left. And now I can see my last one's got to go here, so this one has to go like that. And there we go. Now I've got hardly any scraps left over from that, and I've used up all of my bits of paper just by making sure that I create a template as I go along, and then I keep on using that so that I know exactly where I am. Right, let's put that last piece down. There we go. Isn't that cute? Right. Time to work on our belly band. This piece measures about 3 centimeters wide. It doesn't really matter what it measures, I'm going to start off in the centre here, and I'm just going to wrap it around my thickest part of my card, and I'm just going to pinch it in place and then cut off any excess, and then I'm going to use my bone folder just to give everything a little bit of a burnish, and then I'm going to just pull this around, making sure it's not too tight and everything's nicely straight and lined up, and then I'm going to put a bit of glue and stick those two pieces together, and I'm just moving it into position, and I get that nice circle we made. I'm going to put glue on the belly band so I know exactly where it's meant to go, so the glue doesn't go in the wrong place. Stick down my lovely little circle embellishment, and then I'll show you another piece of the designer series paper. Now, as I said, this is what I love about this paper. It is full of all these little icons that can be fussy cut out. So you can see here, I'm going to fussy cut out some of these pieces. We're going to use some of the tags from this piece, and I think we can also use some other little pieces from some of the other pages, but it's really nice designer series paper with all of these lovely little tags and whatever. Here you've got tags. On one of the other pages you've got luggage, little passport icons, you've got little umbrellas. You've really got a lot of variety, and you've got a lot of different sizes as well. So you've got the tags here, which are little dinky ones, and then on another sheet you've got larger tags. So I am focusing on this designer series paper for the next few weeks. So you will have seen a project before this using this paper, and there's a couple more to come as well. So do subscribe to my channel and hit that like button, and then YouTube will tell you when I upload a new video. It is really much appreciated. Okay, so there we've fussy cut out our little pieces. You can do as many or as few as you like. And you can see here I've got a piece left over of the luggage from one of the other designer series papers. And I'm just trying to see whether I want to use it here or not. And I'm just going to tuck my embellishments around with my belly band, just so it looks nice. Now on the very back of this panel you could put a piece of basic white for your insert. Normally I would, but I'd left it downstairs unfortunately, so I didn't. And then we're going to put the luggage just there. They're cute. I love how bright and vibrant this card is. So much fun. Alright, so here I'm just showing you that on the tags die you get these lovely little hearts, and I'm going to use some of these here, and I'm just deciding where I want to put them. And I've cut these out of strawberry slush cardstock, and I'm just putting a few here on these tags, and I'm just trying to decide where I want to put the last one, and I'm going to put it here in the corner. Isn't that cute? So there you go, there are those two cards. I'm going to finish it off with some rhinestones, give it a little bit of bling, why not? Nothing was made worse by adding a little bit of bling. So there we go. I'm just going to add it where I see these little stars on the stamped image. So there you go, there are our two cards featuring the On You Go designer series paper from Stampin' Up. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial showing you how to make this sloped Zig Zag Gatefold card. As I said, if you want more information you'll find it on the blog post on the website. So thank you again, and until next time, enjoy being creative. Bye.